In this video, we're going to talk about how to create an AI agent from scratch, be ready to essentially deploy it and use it for yourself, whatever it is that you'd like to use the AI agent for. But not only that, we're going to scale things back as well and talk about the basics. What is an AI agent? What are the use cases for AI agents? Could they apply to what you do in your life, or are they just something that just wouldn't work with the way you work? Spoiler alert, with the way a lot of people currently work professionally, whether you're a SaaS founder, content creator, e-com business manager, C-suite CEO or executive, agency owner, whatever it is you do, chances are AI agents have got a use case that will make your life easier. So I'm going to cover that and a whole lot more. I will also have a document linked in the description, which also goes through the content that we're about to go through in this video, as well as all other resources that you may need in order to go ahead and create a similar result for yourself. So whether you're new to AI agents or whether you are a seasoned veteran, there may be areas that you benefit from within this video. There will be timestamps as well. So if you want to jump forward, feel free to also do so. But yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's start by understanding what AI agents are and what the basics are for AI agents. I will be using a platform called SmithOS, by the way, to demonstrate these AI agents for you, but don't be put off by that. The principles and the core foundations I'm going to be talking about here can be applied to virtually any AI agent platform. And apologies if you can hear any noise in the background. There's someone going crazy with a lawnmower somewhere. Hopefully you can't hear it, but if you can, my apologies. Let's start by understanding what AI agents are exactly. So I've built this document here around SmithOS, but the focus is again on building AI agents. You've got an intro of the document itself there, and just a bit of background about SmithOS themselves. So obviously they're a visual drag and drop platform that empowers users to build AI agents. These agents are essentially intelligent workflows driven by ChatGPT or other models, various tools and APIs, unlike simply interacting with ChatGPT in a chat interface. So SmithOS allows for the creation of automated and repeatable processes. So in my experience, whether you're a beginner, whether you are a seasoned veteran, the learning curve is not as steep as I thought, because they provide both templates as well as the opportunity to create AI agents from scratch. And either or, whichever option you go with, you don't need to be a developer. You don't need to be someone who writes code. You don't need to be a professional with 10 years of experience using AI. Literally, you can do this using natural language and common sense and a bit of research if you are eager to learn and understand what all of this is all about. And again, with a lot of these platforms, you may find that it is rather challenging. There's a steep learning curve, but using this platform, for me, as someone who hasn't got that technical of a background, with just a little bit of work, a little bit of research, I was building AI agents in next to no time. And it says there, the platform is designed to be accessible to users without coding experience, enabling them to construct logic, integrate tools, and define actions through a visual control panel. So got here a agent building cycle diagram that I have created here, which you can go ahead and check out from within the document. Just a high level overview of what it is that we are looking at here. So the sort of top step there is building the logic. So this is where you create agent logic visually. Now, the way that I do this and the way that we're going to cover it in this video, I do this by interacting with ChatGPT and just using the platform to help me brainstorm and articulate what I want to do in a way that not only ChatGPT will understand, in a way that SmithOS will understand as well. Essentially, SmithOS works in a way where they've got their own master agent, which is called Agent Weaver. And this is essentially their agent that helps you build other agents. So you want to be able to talk in a language that Agent Weaver is going to understand. And that's where, for me, ChatGPT really comes into its own, because it helps me articulate all of that. So building the logic, and then we've got connecting the tools there, integrate with various tools and APIs. So depending on what your use case is, some use cases are really complex. Obviously, you can make this as complex or as easy as you want, but some use cases are fairly simple. Again, I don't have a highly technical background, so I tend to stay away super complex use cases that are going to need to access information from closed platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. For context, what I mean by closed platforms, I mean that the agent is going to need to use something called an API in order to access that platform. And a lot of these platforms generally will sell an API. An API is like a phone call that your agent will need to make every time you ask for information. And once it gets that information, it then displays it on wherever it is that you want it to display it. But the problem is, because information is so valuable, a lot of these platforms will either not provide an API, or if they do, it'll be a chargeable API. So if you look at it this way, the more valuable and the more higher quality information you get, the more expensive that API will be, and so forth. You do get some platforms that are releasing information completely free, information that is up to date. However, a lot of the time you will have to pay for these APIs. But the workaround that I've found is, with a lot of AI agents that I'm building, I tend to stick with information that is available via large language models. What I mean by that is SmithOS, as well as other similar platforms, they will tend to have a native connection with large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. That in itself is a lake, a sea of information that you potentially use to run an application. Like, for example, if you're doing an application that is writing scripts for TikTok videos or YouTube long form videos, writing hooks, writing call to actions, creating product descriptions, and so forth. Generally, that structure, that information doesn't change a whole lot over time. It tends to be within a, even though the products themselves do evolve and change. So use cases like that, doing assignments for schoolwork, helping teachers write documents, write white papers, and so forth, you could use a large language model. And a lot of these large language models do tend to have either low cost or free APIs that are available that you can use. In a nutshell, all this means, in the simplest possible language, is using LLMs as your source of information tends to be a lot less complicated than using APIs. APIs are really good as well, but there's a cost element as well as a technical knowledge element that comes with that as well. Okay, so the next step there is specify actions. So we've got access to the API or various tools. Specify what actions your agent is going to take. So you define agent actions through controls. Okay, I've built you as an agent. Here are the tools I'm going to need you to use. Now, this is what I'm going to need you to use these tools for. This is what that's saying essentially. And then once you've done all of that, then you test and refine. This is where you evaluate and improve the agent performance. So this is where you check for any bugs. This is where you're essentially chatting with the agent, which I will show you a little bit later on in this video, and seeing what type of output is coming out of the agent. And by the way, if you are finding value from this video, apparently if a lot of people like this video, then a lot of people are going to see this video on YouTube. That's apparently how the YouTube gods work. So I would appreciate a like if you are finding value from this video. If you're not, you don't have to give me a like, don't worry. So how a SmithOS agent works. So here's a simple breakdown of that. So a SmithOS agent can be understood as a combination of brain and skills. So the agent is obviously the brain and the skills. So the way this example is framed here, an agent serves as the central intelligence responsible for determining what actions to take and when to execute them. The skills represent the agent's capabilities akin to arms, legs, and tools enabling it to perform specific tasks. So agent is brain, and the arms and the legs and the body are kind of like the skills that you are going to give it. You can kind of look at the skills similar to these tools that we're talking about here, but you'll see as we go along. Building an agent involves connecting these skills, which are modular blocks of logic, data retrieval, formatting, or tool utilization. Again, I will show you this a little bit later on in the video so you can actually see it visually. And moving on, key components with analogies here. To better understand the functionality of SmithOS, let's explore its key components with relatable analogies. So this is essentially what you're going to find as you're using the platform. Now, these are native to SmithOS itself, but if you're using another platform like N8 or similar tool, you will find a representation of these types of components in one form or another. But this is how they come across within SmithOS specifically. You've got the agent, which is the entire workflow brain, skills, the little modular task inside the agent, as we explained, and the analogy next to that. So the agent is kind of like a virtual employee. The skills are like apps or mini tasks that the agent undertakes. We've got input, what data goes into a skill. So what question are you or the user of that agent going to be entering into a form or into ChatGPT or whatever it is that you're using for, or your website or your chatbot. And the outputs, what data comes out of a skill. So answers from each task. Now, memory stores info across steps. So like a sticky note, the agent can refer to later. So not only does it give you the information that you asked it for, it can come back to that information later on as well. Tools, external services like Gmail, Notion, APIs. So it's like giving your agent a phone or a computer, like that example that I made a little bit later on about APIs being similar to making phone calls. Triggers, what starts the agent? Is it a manual or is it an automatic trigger? So this is like pressing a button or timer to get the agent started. Hopefully that all makes sense so far. Let me know in the comments if you have got any questions specifically about AI agents. I will try and answer those as soon as I can, provided that they are within the first 24 hours of posting this video. SmoothOS agent workflow cycle. In terms of how the workflow looks, we have this representation here. So just going to quickly, briefly go through that. So you initiate the agent. So you start the workflow process. This would be me or you entering a question or a request using the form that the agent comes with. So interacting with the agent, execute skills, perform modular tasks. This is the agent now going and using the skills that you've given it, the API or whatever it is, and performing the tasks that is required. It then processes inputs. So it gathers all the necessary data. So it goes, looks for what you need. It gathers the data that it needs. Then it generates output. So it produces the results from what it's found online for you. And from there, it stores the memory. So it saves the data in case it needs to come back to in future. And then from there, utilize tools, access external services, and so forth. So kind of self-explanatory there. Consider an agent designed to assist in writing a video script, for example. So the trigger in this instance would be the user inputs a product name and description. So I want to write a product description for these Apple AirPods, for example. So the first skill there, the agent utilizes a ChatGPT model to generate a TikTok script idea based on the input. So as I mentioned earlier in this video, a lot of the time, these platforms will have large language models like ChatGPT built in natively, so you can easily access those without necessarily having to go and find an API key somewhere and have to key that in. So that's the first skill. Skill 2, the agent refines the script to match a specific style or tone, i.e. Victor's tone or someone famous's tone that you'd like to borrow from. Skill 3, the agent delivers the final script by either saving it to a tool like Notion or sending it via an email. And then step 4, the agent stores past prompts to avoid generating duplicate ideas in the future. So you can kind of see the assembly line of the workflow and the process that agents will tend to follow. Again, not just SmoothOS agents, agents in general. Here are some examples of skills that you might use. So we've got a variety of different skills here. Again, this might be platform specific. However, you may find similar sort of variables in other AI agent platforms out there. So you've got OpenAI chat for writing, summarizing, and researching tasks, Google search for retrieving real-time data from the web, API call for interacting with external services like, Kalo Data or Shopify. Notice that this is referring to a lot of the tools that I use for my YouTube videos, is personalizing it to what I've used in the past, but never mind that. Conditional logic for implementing decision-making processes. If this happens, then do that. If, when type of language. Formatter for cleaning and manipulating text data. So for data analysis people out there, that might be something that, that kind of brings out light bulbs in your head. Sending an email for delivering the final results of the agent's work. So some examples of skills there. Now, what makes it powerful? So SmoothOS offers several key advantages specifically. So modularity. Skills can be built once and reused across multiple agents, promoting efficiency and consistency. Now, this is if you build these skills manually right here. And again, for now, I wouldn't say I'm at the stage where I'm confident enough to manually build these skills. However, if you are at that level and you understand a little bit more about the sort of technical under the hood side of things, then if you have built that skill from scratch and put it together within SmithOS, which I will show you again in just a little bit how that visually looks, it can be used for a similar use case in future. They won't have to build it over and over again. Multi-step logic. Agents can make decisions and adapt their behavior based on intermediate results. Self-explanatory. Tool stack integration. Seamlessly connect with a wide range of external services, CRMs, video tools, and forms. You'll be connecting via APIs. Collaboration ready. Agents can be easily shared with clients or team members, facilitating collaboration and knowledge sharing. Self-explanatory there. So building powerful AI agents. I've got a visual here that we have put together. So again, this just visualizes what we've just spoken about here. So just going to skip through that. Quick, powerful tip. When building agents for content creation or e-commerce, for example, it's recommended to start with a simple design, one trigger, one GPT skill, and one output as needed. You can then add layers of complexity by incorporating memory, conditional logic, and integrations with tools like Stripe, Typeform, and Notion. So essentially, the reason why this is on here, like anything, you can make it as simple or as complex as you'd like, right? Like for me, and the way that I do them, as mentioned, I tend to use simple, straightforward logic behind it. Like, for example, you could have many skills. You could have multiple skills. You could have, multiple different blocks of logic within that assembly line. But just remember, the more complex the AI agent is, the harder or the more work that it has to do for one. And the maintenance might be a bit spotty as well, because if you have got issues, bugs, yes, they can be fixed, but it might take you longer to spot exactly where those errors are. And whereas if you've only got 3 or 4 components, not only is it easier for you to identify what the issue is, but it's easier for Agent Weaver, which again is kind of like your manager, your assistant within SmithOS that helps you fix these types of issues. So really, the simpler, the better at the start. And then as you get more confident, you can then add towards those areas there. So step 1, in terms of how I built my agent. So a bit of an intro. So the agent that I have built before I go into this step 1 is a LinkedIn Ghostwriter AI agent. You can see it here with this. SmithOS has this thing where they'll add a random avatar picture for you. So this is not someone that's real, even though it may look so. So it's called LinkedIn Ghostwriter for Founders. Very creative name, I know. And here on the right-hand side, we've got a chat window that allows me to test my AI agent by speaking to it. We'll get to this here in just a second, but what I've done is click on test. And what I need to do now is just type the message to see what kind of output my AI agent is going to. But moving too quickly, let's just step back a little bit firstly and just go back to our document, which is here. Okay, so step 1 in building an AI agent here. So for me, it was brainstorming with ChatGPT. You'll find ChatGPT or similar LLMs invaluable when it comes to putting these types of AI agents together, especially for me, as I've noticed within SmithOS. And the reason for that is, again, ChatGPT is able to articulate my requirement in a way that SmithOS is going to understand. It's able to explain it in a way that the system is going to immediately go, right, okay, this is what Victor wants. These are the components. These are the platforms I need to connect to. This is where I need to scrape my data and so forth. I can't articulate that from my head. It's something that I'm simply not able to do, which, a lot of people won't be able to do unless you've been working with this type of technology for quite some time. So what I tend to do is start with ChatGPT. So the first thing that I did is give ChatGPT a prompt or question, if you will. I said, I want to create a LinkedIn post generator agent with SmithOS, ideally only using LLMs already connected natively within the platform. These are text posts like blog articles for agency owners, coaches, SaaS founders, and consultants. What do you need to know from me to draft me the best prompt from SmithOS Agent Weaver? So in terms of the idea, I want a LinkedIn post generator. I've come up with that idea just for the sake of presenting and showcasing the technology within this video. It can be your idea, whatever it is that you want to create. however it is you've gone about doing the research for creating that. I'm also telling ChatGPT that I only want to use large language models within SmithOS. And the reason behind this, as mentioned a little bit earlier in this video, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. SmithOS could very easily make this very complex if I'm not specific about where I want the information to go. They could think of 10 different platforms, APIs, freely available APIs online that they can connect to, various different sources. So if you don't tell it, I want to use ChatGPT specifically, I want to use that skill with OpenAI's chat because I know that's already available within the platform. So the workflow is going to be so much simpler as opposed to letting it go and scour the deepest, darkest corners of the internet and just come back with errors. I'm also specifying that these are text posts like blog articles or agency owners and who it's for. Now, the key part, and if you've watched my videos in the past, this is something that I repeat over and over again. What works for me when it comes to chatting with ChatGPT or these similar platforms, rather than giving it a load of information, right? I want you to do this or do that, I tend to ask it, like, in order for you to get me the best possible result, what do you need from me? Remember, ChatGPT is already 100,000 times ahead of you in whatever it is you are trying to do as far as information access is concerned. So ChatGPT is the expert. Rather than saying, hey, go do this, I'm like, what do you need from me in order to get me the best result? It then turns into that person, that expert, and says, okay, you need to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then once you've done that, I'm then going to create what's needed and we can move on from there. So this is what ChatGPT came back to me with, true to form, just like I've explained. It said, give me an ideal audience or personas. Who exactly should these posts appeal to? Give me a style and voice. Some examples there of what it's looking for. What are the content pillars that we're going to write about or categories? Main business goal, output details, optional extras, blah, blah, blah. So this is, again, ChatGPT just kind of coaching me, saying, once you tell me this, I will give you the best possible result that I can. So I went ahead and answered ChatGPT's questions, which again, very, very simple. I've just used some of what it's given me to answer the questions back. Again, you can make this as in-depth as you want, but for the sake of this presentation, I am just giving it some sort of high-level information based on the information that it's given me there. That's me answering ChatGPT right there. And in terms of this chat, for, just in case anyone is interested, you probably won't be because it's what I'm repeating, but it's all here on ChatGPT Plus. And for those interested, you can do this within the free ChatGPT platform, but I'm using the paid version because I just find it so much more useful and so much more helpful for me and my use cases. So I gave that information back to ChatGPT. We then moved on to step 2, which is pasting the ChatGPT prompt into SmithOS and creating the agent. So this is the prompt that ChatGPT came back to me with after I gave it the information that I did. Now, for context, this prompt here is what I am going to paste into Agent Weaver here. So if you can see on the screen there on the left-hand side, you can see Agent Weaver. This is that master agent I was talking about at the beginning of this video. This is the manager within this platform as far as you, the creator, is concerned. It articulates what it needs and it does all the running around and build that is required to build these components here that it essentially went ahead and built for me. So what I did is take the prompt that ChatGPT created. You are a seasoned LinkedIn ghostwriter for agency owners, blah, 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 blah. So it's now talking to SmithOS, essentially, with this prompt. Follow this structure for every post. Hook, start with a bold, curiosity-driven first sentence. Story, lesson, CTA. Tone, we've got randomly alternate topics across 2 categories. Do not include hashtags or emojis. I've asked it to post 1 post per run. And then from there, we have got our prompt. So I've taken this prompt and I have pasted it onto Agent Weaver here, as you can see there. And what Agent has done is then gone ahead and let me know I'm going to create a LinkedIn ghostwriter agent that generates emotionally resonant, blah, blah, blah. So it's just repeating what I've put in there in summary. And this is it working here. So it went ahead and created this for me. Now, for context, the reason why I'm not doing this live, I respect your guys' time. I am not going to sit here and, let you wait, minutes while it's creating this agent here. We can do this live another time, but I just wanted to kind of walk you through what I've already built as opposed to going through it live. It doesn't take that long to build it, but again, waiting for it to build, I just didn't want to do that. So yeah, as you can see there, it's kind of letting me know its thought process as it's working here. And there we go. The agent is ready to generate high quality LinkedIn posts that position your client as thought leaders. So while Agent Weaver's going through this process here, it's creating these different components that you can see here. Let me just close this window to give you a closer look. Just going to zoom in. So that's the agent itself. As you can see, the skills that we described earlier, this is where you can add any new skills if you wish to. I have not done that. I've let this agent build the current ones for me. So we've got this first one here, which is an API endpoint. And we talked about APIs a little bit earlier in this video. And there's a description here. It generates a LinkedIn post for founders and coaches. Inputs are topic, category, newsletter info, and we've got all this stuff here. We've got the Gen AI LLM next here. So this is where it sources the information. Again, the source of the information is from ChatGPT, which is kind of the main LLM that is connected to SmithOS here. And then once it's collected this information here, it's then going to post that output. As you can see there, that's a LinkedIn post. And this is what I can then copy and use within my LinkedIn post. You could be a ghostwriter, you could be a C-suite CEO, director, whatever your use case is. You could be a consultant coach, but from there, the tool is essentially ready. So with that being created, the next step is to test the agent output. Cheated a little bit here. I've not really put down the steps, but all you do when you test it is you just go onto this test button here on the top right hand side, and straight away it's letting me know who it is and what it does. So what I tend to do, if you've watched one of my previous videos, you will know this. I tend to ask it, what does it need from me to give me the best possible result? Similar to what I do with ChatGPT. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Boom. Okay, so to create the most effective and resonant LinkedIn posts for you, here's what would help me deliver the best results. Target audience, your primary goal, your personal backstory, tone and values. Again, this is speaking that language that's going to help it get me the best results here. I wouldn't have thought of that on my own, but it's telling me what I need. So because of my suffering from chronic laziness, I'm going to copy this here. In fact, let me just copy all of it. And I'm going to put it into my ChatGPT chat here. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to generate a data set for me with just some fake information, answering all those questions. I can copy and paste back into that AI agent there. Just going to paste it here, going to the top, some example information, answering the following requests. So I can copy and paste back to voice generator to get a result. Okay, just going to separate that here. And I'm just going to let ChatGPT do thinking here. So here's a fully filled out example response. Target also, yeah, so there we go. Just need to wait for that. If you are finding value for this, again, I'm a relatively small creator within the space, really would appreciate so more people can see this video. And really, the more people like a video, the better the response, the more it tells me that I need to create more of that content. And even consider subscribing if you feel that I deserve it. There we go. Target audience. Right. Okay. Brilliant. So I've got everything I need here from ChatGPT. So I'm just going to copy that and go back into the agent, give it the answer. There we go. It's happy with that. It's now writing the post. Let me know how it's going to approach it. Let me know if you want it to create. Yeah. So it's saying, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to cover. Are you ready for me to go ahead and do it? I'm just going to go ahead. Okay. You can see now it's working through the different skills. It's looking at the moment through the Gen AI LLM. It's got the information that it requires. Now it's writing the result. I've only asked it to create 150 to 300 words, so it's not going to be a long post. Can AI be the partner who doesn't take away your authenticity? Blah, blah, blah. Not long ago, I was saying that I took a leap. Beautiful. So that's essentially ready. All I can do now is just copy this and paste it into LinkedIn, and I've already got my post sorted for the day. I can tick off another to-do task. Or if you're a ghostwriter and you've got 5 clients that expect you to post every single day, enrich that, copy it, chop it, change it, whatever you want to do, but you've got 80% of your work done right there. Now, I could go ahead and ask it to create 100 more if I wanted to, but for the sake of time, I've tested the agent output now. The next step is to deploy the agent. I'm not going to go into too in-depth in deploying the AI agent here, but essentially what you do is you click on this deploy button here. Before you even do that, if you encounter any issues, by the way, you can the best approach for a beginner, I would say, is to interact with Agent Weaver. Agent Weaver is, again, going to do all the running around for you and identify, sniff out the issue. And a lot of the time it's going to point out exactly what the issue is, and it's either going to resolve it or suggest an alternative. A big one that tends to come up is if it's unable to scrape information based on a source that you've told it to go and get the information from. Then it asks you, do you want it to change the source of information from Shopify to WooCommerce or whatever, just so it can get a better source and get you the information that you require, things like that. But you just do a natural language conversation with this and you can essentially fix any issues. But yeah, once you do, if you're happy with the agent, if you're happy with everything here, you can go ahead and click on deploy. You can see there's different options here. You can do it as a domain where you put it onto your website directly or your application directly, or you can deploy it as a custom GPT, which is my favorite option at the moment because it's the least complex option. You can deploy it as a chatbot to put onto your website as well. API to connect to other applications if you want to act as a, sort of a white label background application, kind of like SmithOS themselves. But just a very high level to deploy as a custom GPT, you just click on get code. You've got the dev URL there, copy that, and then you just click on here. If you've got a paid version of ChatGPT, which I do, it's going to take you straight onto this new GPT screen here. And this is where you can create and configure the agent. You can add a picture of what it's going to look like, the name of your agent, the description, any specific instructions you'd like it to follow, wallet functions, conversation starters. We can add knowledge here and some additional capabilities. I would advise not to because it's got all the capabilities that it needs right here. But if that's something that you want to do, you can add any additional actions that you'd like it to take. And this is where you can test the GPT. You can see here already what it's going to look like. And yeah, that's essentially what you would be doing there. And once you're done, you just click on create. And just like that, you've got your own custom GPT, which you can either, sell or you can use as a lead magnet to get people to sign up to your newsletter, your service, whatever it is that you do. I've done this in a previous video. If I go onto here, you can see I've got Pete, which is an AI agent that I have created in the past. And I've done that on a separate video here on my channel. So if you'd like a little bit more in-depth breakdown of how to deploy an AI agent specifically with SmithOS here, there may be different deployment options depending on the tool that you're using. I have covered that previously. But yeah, all of this will be linked in the description. The document that I'm covering will be linked in the description, as well as if you'd like to access SmithOS. Funny story, the first 100 people to sign up to SmithOS using my link, 1, it helps support me as a small creator, but 2, you will get $20 worth of credits free as part of your sign up if you decide to upgrade to the paid versions once you're happy with the trial.